your physical body and your motherhood misses a child that you gave birth to and have had in your family and your life forever. And so my arms are empty. My physical body ached and mourned for her, but my spiritual body is celebrating that one of my kids made it. Like, one of my kids made it. One of my kids is not suffering through this life. And it really is a balance, though, because it's joy and sorrow.
Welcome back to another episode of the Like a Diamond podcast. If you've been able to watch any of our previous episodes, or if this is your first, this is the show where we get vulnerable, open our kimonos, show our scars, our wounds of our trials, our adversities, our hardships that we've gone through in life. And we're able to talk about how these trials can shape us into a diamond if we let them. Today's episode is going to be a little bit hard. There may be some of you out there who have experienced loss of a loved one, especially loss of a child. And for you, we hope this episode can give you hope, can give you light, can give you understanding and faith. Today, we're very excited for our guest. It's a family friend, actually our sister-in-law's mother.
Yeah.
So no biological connection, but familial for sure. Our guest we'd like to welcome is Tami Weaver. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So awesome.
Well, I'm excited to hear this story because I've heard bits and pieces so her oldest daughter is married to my brother.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we love her so much.
Same.
So much.
When, it's funny because your oldest child is like kind of your pride and joy. And I thought there was no one in the world good enough for her. And then when I met Jordan, I was like, okay, she found her puzzle piece, her match. They are amazing. And, it's funny because I had 3 girls in a row. And when Jordan came into our family, I felt like we had been missing him. Like he filled a hole that I didn't even know we had until he joined our family.
I love
so
that.
We love Jordan and
Well, that's
Faith.
great.
We're so happy.
He's a good one.
And he is
they
so
have
great.
The cutest 2
Oh
little
yeah, their
babies.
little kids are the best. And Faith is kind of like the resident Miss Fields in the family.
Oh, yes.
She is like the greatest baker. Every family dinner, we're like so excited to see what
Yes.
Faith is
Quite
bringing.
It's so fun. I'm
as
like,
a
oh
dessert.
good, she's bringing dessert.
I know, she is.
Yes,
That's not her only great
definitely.
quality, but that's the grandkids' favorite quality, I think.
I love it so much. I know. So before we jump into the story, who are you?
Yeah, tell us about you.
What do you do for fun? Tell us
well,
about your family and
Is this
all
the
the things.
pickleball podcast?
Well,
I
that's a
mean-
huge part of your life, so I think so.
I have 8 children.
Wow.
Which is a lot, right?
Yes.
So I had Faith, Grace, Hope, Eli, and Joy. And then I had Glory, Isaac, and Sam. And they are the best, my pride and joy, my family. They love to be together. We have just the best time.
Yeah.
They are seriously the joy and pride of my life. And as I've gotten older and finally have a little time to myself, I have found some hobbies like pickleball, which is really fun.
I hear you're a mean pickleball player, by the way. Not mean, like good and mean,
Yes.
but like you can be fierce.
I love it. No, I love it. It's
we-
actually
we
part
know
of
you're
my,
very good.
Part
Yeah.
of my healing journey was
Oh.
picking up pickleball.
that's great.
I love that.
Yeah, I have 4 grandchildren.
Oh my
They're the
gosh.
best. They're the reason to move forward, right?
Yeah.
They're the best.
Isn't
And
that the reason to have kids? That's what I've been told. You
Yes.
have kids so then you can become a grandparent. Is
Yes. Yes. So we have 3 married kids, 3 in-laws, son-in-laws, and our girls are married, so 3 son-in-laws. And
Wow.
I have 4 college graduates. I feel so
Wow.
like
Oh my
the
gosh.
first 4 are all. So that's
Good track
exciting.
record.
It kind of relieves a little bit of parenting stress when you see
Yeah.
that, like, I've produced a few like people that are contributing to society.
Yes,
like,
yes.
I
It
didn't
wasn't all
make
that
so
bad.
many
I
mistakes
know.
that like they're like it's good. It's a good time.
And your youngest is 12, so you have 3 married children, and then your youngest is 12. That's quite the span.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
had my baby when my oldest was a senior in high school.
Wow.
So they're
there's the gap.
Yeah, it's a big gap.
How fun. Did you grow up here in Utah? Where'd you grow up? What was that like?
So I grew up in Idaho Falls, and loved it. Great place to grow up. Lots of friends and loved it. Went to Rick's College and then transferred to Utah State, where I met my husband, who also grew up in Idaho Falls, which it's a small town, but there's, at the time there was 3 high schools, and we didn't know each other in Idaho Falls, but we met in Logan, and it was the reason that I went there. I'm sure of it. And
You've been married for how many years now?
so we've been married for 31 years.
Wow.
Congrats.
That's
That's
exciting.
amazing.
Thank you.
You still like each other?
You know what? He is the best. He is like my rock. He's amazing, and he works from home, and so he's really helpful as far as like we did the second batch of kids, and so I'm tired, and he's really helpful and helping. So
Some
yes,
marriages
we still very much like each other.
It draws apart when the husband works from home, and as others, it's helpful. So glad to hear that has worked for you guys.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah, there's pros and cons.
There is.
That's awesome. To jump into the topic, we always like to start with some positive things first. So your daughter that passed away, her name was Joy, correct? Tell us about Joy, some positive, some great things about her.
So she was 2 years and 3 months. She was our 5th child. And at that time of my life, we had 5 children. We had lived in California, and then we moved here to Utah. And in fact, this is our 20-year anniversary of moving to Utah, and we love it. I felt like my life was pretty perfect because I had 5 kids, and I was like, this is such a great number of children. We had considered like, are we done? When she turned 2, it's like the first time in my life that I wasn't pregnant with a 2-year-old. Like, we're kind of like, are we on pause? Like, this is a great number of family. And one thing about her is we so enjoyed her. Like, she was a little bit sassy and kind of naughty. Like, she's the one that like wrote on the walls, and she was really independent. Like, she would hold her hands behind her so that no one could hold her hand while you're like walking, even like in a parking lot or across the street or what. She was just like, I am independent. One of our favorite memories is we needed to get her some tennis shoes. We go into the good old Payless that doesn't exist anymore, and we're trying to buy her these tennis shoes. And she, at 2 years old, had picked out these little brown shoes, and they were like sandals, and they were not tennis shoes, which was the point of going. And she would not. She refused to let us take them off, and she wanted to buy those, and she kept going, Sahoos, and like she was just very like, I know what I want, and you cannot talk me into those tennis shoes. I want this pair of shoes. And she just was like really kind of a spitfire already, and we just loved her and enjoyed her. And I think because she was later in my family, I kind of had the patience to let her be who she is. Like I didn't worry about, like, probably one of my older kids, I would have been like, we're buying those tennis shoes and you're getting
you would have battled it out.
Like we would have battled it out.
Yes.
And she was just, it was easy to just like, okay, we'll get those. And she never took them off. And she, I did her hair in little pigtails, and she just was like everybody's favorite little baby. She was either on one of my girls' hips, or she just was just this darling little beautiful girl, and we all just adored her.
Oh, I love that.
I love
Thanks
that.
for sharing that. So how old would she be today? Or is she?
She would be 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That is interesting. I don't know if you ever catch yourself thinking what she'd be like as a 21-year-old.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't imagine now.
My niece is the same age as her, and she's on a mission right now. And I followed her. They're 2 months apart. And so I have, like, whatever she was doing, graduating from high school or even before that, like all of her milestones. And then, you see the kids in the neighborhood that were her age. And as I saw them like driving, I was like, wow. And so you kind of keep track. And I just picture her as this beautiful kind of adult. You know, when she passed away, I always pictured her as my baby for many years. And then as the years have gone on and my kids have grown up, I now picture her kind of at that age of like a 20-year-old.
Wow.
And I know that she is just a beautiful young adult woman now. I can picture her as, you know, more of an adult. It's kind of an interesting, because time has
I
passed.
love that. Yeah.
So
I love that.
So let's go back 19 years. And I believe this all happened in California. So were you on a vacation? What were you guys doing?
So we had these three girls. They were 7, 9, and 11. And then we had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And the three girls, we in our family were very musical. And I think that our girls thought that we were all going to be Broadway stars. So we were in shows, we sang a lot. And I had seen Wicked in California with my mother-in-law. And I'm like, my girls have to see this show. Like, I love this show so much. We have to go. So it was still in California. I called my mother-in-law and I said, my girls need to see this show. Is there any way you would come with us and babysit Joy and Eli, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, while I take the girls to Wicked, and then we'll all go to Disneyland together?
Wow.
And my mother-in-law's like, absolutely. And my mother-in-law loves Disneyland, has been many times, dreams of taking all the grandkids. And she was like, absolutely. And then maybe like a week later, she calls me and she's, I don't know, I'm feeling like I should stay home and keep the 2-year-old and 4-year-old at my house in Idaho instead of come with you. So we're going to meet halfway, we're going to do the kid handoff. And then my husband and I and our 3 girls, we're going to drive to California, see Wicked, spend the weekend at a couple days in Disneyland and head home. And then we were going to meet again and get the kids. And she changed her mind and decided to be at her home, which, I think is a little miracle of the time. So we head off on our journey. Joy was, she had a little bit of a runny nose the morning that I was taking her to meet her grandma, but she was not sick. No reason to think that there was anything wrong. And I had no sort of feeling or inclination that this was not a good idea.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I kind of was searching for that. Like, why did I not get a warning or I felt so great about it. Like, it was such a good solution. Like, I get to take my girls to this show. And my mother-in-law is amazing. I knew that my daughter was in good hands, and father-in-law too. I just knew this is a great thing. Yeah. They babysat for us before many times. This was a great thing. So we head off, we go to the show, and on Thursday, Friday, we got a call from my mother-in-law, and she's like, oh, Joy, she has this little cough and her nose is running, and I'm just wondering if it's okay if I get a humidifier. And even then I was like, sure, whatever you want. We're going on the rides. We're having a blast, whatever you need to do. I had no worries. Saturday, we did all of the things at the parks. And when we were walking we had been the first day in Disneyland, the second day in California Adventure, and we still had 2 more days of our trip. And we're walking back to the hotel. And I said to my husband, isn't it awesome that we've been able to do everything we wanted to do on this trip, and we still have 2 more days here? This has been so fun. And we didn't really hear anything else from my mother-in-law.
Because you didn't even have cell phones then,
well,
did you?
I did have a cell phone.
Okay.
This was in 2008. So I had a cell phone,
yeah.
but I didn't, I turned it off overnight. I didn't turn it on the next morning. It wasn't texting or, it was just I should check in, So we went to the hotel breakfast, and we had this thing happen with our room where we were supposed to get this upgrade. So we ended up like moving to this big suite, and I just didn't turn the phone on because I wasn't worried. And the funny thing is, at the beginning of the trip, we had a mix-up with the hotel. So we were in a different hotel than the information that I had given my in-laws.
Oh.
So they couldn't find us, basically. So Sunday morning hits, and we were kind of doing all the things. Finally, I turned the phone on, and it just started like, message after message, like voicemails. And I was like, oh, that's odd, And I knew that I was going to check in later. I knew that my in-laws were at church in the morning, and I just wasn't that worried. Anyway, so the phone rang on the bed, and my husband had jumped in the shower. So I was in the shower, or he was in the shower. I was there. My girls were in. It was kind of an adjoining room. So my girls were in the other room, and the phone rings, and I answer it, and it's my father-in-law. And he says, I need to talk to Mike. And I was like, well, he's in the shower. Like, what is it? And he was just like, I can't tell you. Like, I think it was like this heavy weight of having to tell his daughter-in-law that in their care, my child had passed away. And he was like, I need to talk to my son. And I said, which kid is it? Like, I just felt the weight of what he was trying to tell me. And he said, Joy is dead. Joy did not wake up. And I was like, I was in shock, and it didn't register what he was telling me. I didn't understand what he was saying. And I walk over to the shower, and I said, it's your dad, and he says Joy is dead. But you better talk to him because I don't really understand what he's saying. Like, it just was like, that was too much for me. So I was like, find out what he really meant, because that could not have happened, And so he, gets out and, gets on the phone, and then he kind of comes out, and we're kind of looking at the girls, and we're like, Joy died. And it was hard. The girls were, just upset, and what? And it was that part was really rough, because I was kind of still trying to process. I still didn't believe what he was saying. I was like, like, whatever you're saying, I know that's not what you meant to say. It just was too much. So,
couldn't be true.
Because of the timing, and because it had taken us so long to get the information or get a hold of us, they had already had a plan in place. So they said, okay, these flights we had driven in our van to California. So they said, there's these flights, you need to get to the LA airport. You have this amount of time, the flight's at this time. This cousin, they talked to Mike's aunt was meeting us the cousin was meeting us to get the van, and the aunt was going to drive the van back. We've got you this flight. And then our friends are going to pick you up in Salt Lake in a private, airplane to get you to Idaho Falls. Like, here's the plan. You have to get yourselves to the airport. And I'm like, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know what to do. I just want to sit here, and it was like this weird dream of nightmare, of like, well, here we are, this happened, and I can't do anything about it. It wasn't like, hurry because you can save your daughter.
Right.
It was like, we got to go. So we kind of, got things together and got in the car, and we're driving, and we turned it was just like so many things where I was just in this blur, and we're trying to get everybody there. And the cousin showed up and like handed us this food, and I like put all these drinks through the airport scanner, and they're like, you can't take those liquids through. And I'm just like, I don't know what you guys are saying. Like, it's so like, I can't function. Like, somebody just needs to hold my hand and get us through, because it was too much. But then we made it through. It it was miracle after miracle, actually, because we were late and they said, you're not going to make it. It was a Southwest flight. We get up there and they're like, there's no way you guys can sit together. And, my husband just looks at the attendant like, we have to sit together. We have these little girls that need to sit by us, and that person, let us on first, and we got to kind of sit by, there's this little angel in the world somewhere that I ended up sitting by my second daughter, Grace, and Mike and Hope and Faith were in one seat. And Grace and I were sitting there, and this beautiful lady, I wish I could find her, she sat with us, and Grace said, oh, my sister died, so we have to go home. And I'm sitting here like, they're telling me that happened, but I still don't believe it. And the lady just totally asked Grace, like, tell me what you loved about Disneyland, and what did you guys do, and what did you do there, and what was your favorite ride, and just talk to Grace like the whole way home. And it just was this beautiful random person who was so kind and just let Grace and us just, I really appreciated that, because I was in no way ready to, talk about what happened. I didn't even believe it. And this woman just really helped Grace focus and get through. I'm sure that Mike and Hope and Faith, I don't know what they were doing, but anyway, I feel like there were angels that were in our path the whole way as we got through to home, basically back to Idaho Falls. One of the most beautiful sights of my whole life was as that airplane flew in and landed. I looked out the window, and there was this wall of strength. It was my brothers, my sisters, my parents, my husband's brothers, our people had gathered and were there ready to, whatever we needed, welcome us home and lift us. And it was a beautiful sight to look out the window and see that. And there they were. And then we basically drove to the mortuary. And for the first time, we were able to see our baby girl. And, the thing that surprised me the most was how big she was, right? Like, all of a sudden, she's this tall. I'm thinking of her as my little 2-year-old baby, and they put her in our arms, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my goodness, you're so big. But it took me a long time. I was in shock about what happened, and I was just like this cloud. I was in this bubble, this cloud where things didn't make sense and people are telling me things, and all of a sudden we have all these tasks, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how
all these decisions to be made, right? Yeah.
Decisions. Well, and because she had passed away in the home of my in-laws, there was an investigation. And on Saturday, the day before she passed away, they had called their neighbor that was a pediatrician and had said, oh, she had a croup cough, and it masked this, it ended up being a fast-acting respiratory bacteria that attacked her lungs. But she had this croupy cough, so they had taken her in the sled, and she actually on Saturday night had started sounding better and feeling better. So when they put her to bed on Saturday night, they were like, oh, she's, they rocked her to sleep, and she was like, oh, she's feeling better. This is great. So they put her to bed, and then overnight, her oxygen level just kept getting lower and lower, and she passed away in the night. And so then when my in-laws went to get her in the morning, she had passed away. And, people have asked me, like, how do you get over it? How do you, like, do you have blame on
Right.
them? Do you, like, what was the relationship with them after? And it's kind of funny because I had nothing but almost gratitude that they took the burden of finding her. And I know that where her room was in our family and how it was with my girls, I know Hope would have found her in the morning. Like, my mother-in-law protected that from us. We had the grief and sorrow of losing her, especially on a daily basis, and the hole in our family and the heart that she, that was a big void and thing to fill. But my mother-in-law took the burden of the emergency and the trauma of finding her and dealing with all of that. And so I never was really, angry at them. I had questions about, like, what, could this have been prevented a little bit? But it just immediately, I think that was one of my little blessings, was like, this would have happened no matter where you were. And and especially, they did this investigation, the coroner and everything. She had an autopsy, and it was like, no, even in the hospital, this would have happened. Like, she, you just know it's one of those things where it was meant to be. And my in-laws kind of gave us this gift of, like, we found her, we dealt with the trauma of it. And then we were just told that our child passed away.
So how has your in-laws dealt with the grief and the trauma? Have they had to go through therapy? I mean, that's a heavy thing for your grandchild. Like, I can't even imagine having to call and tell you guys that.
Yeah.
How have they handled it?
So it's really interesting. It's actually been I want to say huge blessing, but that's probably not quite the right words. But my mother-in-law had a healing journey, and she found foot zone. She's a foot zone therapist. And part of that was finding her own healing. She went to someone who did that for her. A foot zone, it's kind of like, the map of the feet. And they, I don't know exactly, they kind of find all the organs and get your energy back in place. But for her, she had some of this work done, and then she realized, I can feel people's energy. I want to heal people, and I want to help. And so she ended up getting certified, and she is a foot zone therapist. And part of that was to help her heal. And I think it's like we have a special relationship because honestly, I am grateful for them. And I do believe that it would have happened no matter what. And they're wonderful. And it's interesting because now I have 4 grandchildren, and Ivy's the same age that Joy was. And I look at that little cutie in her pigtails.
Yeah.
And I have babysat them multiple times and overnights. And I'm just like, I feel like I want to make a bargain. Like, you better not this. Like, I can't guarantee the safety of my grandchildren. And I don't want to presume that nothing tragic is ever going to happen to our family. But it better not happen in the same way, because I cannot, I don't know if I could do that, what my mother-in-law did. I do believe that the way that it happened was the way that it was supposed to be, the plan. So I have spent many years and am grateful for how that transpired for us. Yeah. But
That's kind of a big miracle, though, that your mother-in-law felt so strongly that, no, I think I should stay home.
Yeah.
Yeah, what
While
would
you
happen?
go on
Yeah,
vacation.
she's in California and
Because
this happens.
it would have been, like you said, one of your kids.
hotel. Yeah. Or we would have been in those hotel rooms, and then you're trying to like,
You got to get home.
you have to get home. You
And
have to
how you bring the
transport. Yes.
So that was inspiration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we talk about how she loves Disney. She wants to go with every grandkid.
Yeah.
The fact that she was stayed home instead of just babysat for Wicked and then was at the parks with us with
That's a
Joy
big
in a
deal.
stroller for a few days, which is how we've done Disneyland every time. We've never left kids to do a trip like that. But in this case, it all just was God's plan.
Yeah. So you had mentioned you kind of just felt numb, weren't processing things. At what point do you feel like it kind of started hitting? And then how did your husband start dealing with it? How did it differ between the two of you?
So, I think I was in shock for, weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks. In fact, I didn't, like, during her funeral, I don't know if I didn't really, fall apart, if you will. Like, I wasn't feeling, I think I just was so numb.
Yeah.
And I just felt like this is so much. And immediately my focus went to, how are my kids doing? How are my girls doing? And it was like, never, like, I can't feel this because it's too hard. So let's make sure everybody's okay. So it took a while, and especially like that whole week of the funeral week and the burial and everything, all of it was very, I don't remember a lot of what happened at the funeral. And my husband spoke, and I had so many people, even to this day, which, like you said, it's been 18 years, almost 19 years. People to this day remember the talk that he gave and how he was like, the Savior heals even this. I do not remember a word of that.
I'm sure.
I was not present. They asked me if I wanted to speak. I was like, no. I remember Mike's aunt and uncle singing, and our brothers and sisters sang, but I don't remember what was spoken. I had no desire to talk. I just was like, it was in January and the cemetery was cold. There was snow. And I sat there over that grave and I was like, how are we walking away and leaving our baby in the ground? That was tough. But I didn't feel the grief of losing her until much later. So the shock and grief of like the day and the accident, if you will, was kind of there, but it just, everything still was numb, and I was in this kind of fog. But as the weeks progressed, and of course, it hits you immediately. Your arms are empty, and she, like I said, she was busy. She was in stuff. She climbed up on the table. I had this bread. I'd made a bunch of pumpkin bread to give to neighbors and friends. And she had gotten up there and, tore it all up and bit all the chocolate chips out. And so like all of a sudden I have like free time, like, wow,
the last
I don't
thing
have to,
you want, right?
The last thing I was lonely. I was lonely. I was like, I want my arms felt empty. And then, but I still had 4 other kids, and they, like I said, they were 11, 9, 7, and 4, very much in school, very much. This is in January, the middle of the year, very active, tons of things. And, it's kind of like life goes on type thing. But also, like, everyone's grieving. And so we had, many stories, hard stuff. The kids were everybody, we're kind of doing these check-ins, like, how's everyone feeling? What do we miss about her? We always wanted to be open about, like, it's okay to feel sad. Life is like, we're going to move forward. We can miss her, but, we still want you to be on your, little soccer team or whatever, kind of like, this is sad. And we wanted to be in a home where the kids could talk. We had this little sharing place, children's grief group that they had, and that was really helpful. And I had decided to get some therapy. I don't know that it was that helpful for me. Every time I was in there, I was like, how do I help my kids? How do I help my kids? How do I help my kids? And honestly, I kind of, you kind of go through this feeling. I always knew that everything was going to be okay. I had this feeling like this is okay. I had a lot of peace about it, which I feel really grateful for.
Wow.
However, you still, it was sad and it was hard, but I always felt hopeful. And especially there are a lot of people say comments and say things and you're, like, oh, you'll see her again, or, you have other kids.
The not helpful
things, especially the things like, aren't you so grateful that, you'll see her again? And I'm like, yes, but that is not helpful because I miss her now, you know? And even I do believe, and I know that I will see her again. And that is very motivating for us to, be good people and, do the things that we know, that's very motivating. I want to be with her again, but I also want to watch her graduate from high school.
Yeah.
So it's always a balance of just missing her. I kind of think of it like joy and sorrow. Your physical body and your motherhood misses a child that you gave birth to and have had in your family and your life forever. And so my arms are empty. My physical body ached and mourned for her, but my spiritual body is celebrating that one of my kids made it. Like one of my kids made it. One of my kids is not suffering through this life.
Yeah.
And it really is a balance though, because it's joy and sorrow.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing so far. I know everyone has different ways they grieve, and the stages of grief aren't the same for everyone. Do you feel like you were ever mad or angry at life, at God, at anything? Did you emote that anger at any point?
Well, I think I didn't actually answer about my husband. I kind of skipped over that. But at this point, my husband grieved differently. And part of that is he got to leave every day. He got to get up, go to work and focus on his tasks, and then come home and then kind of, immerse himself back in it. And I know that he grieved differently because he was able to set it aside, whereas I was just always in it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a mother's
burden,
blessing too. But it's like, I missed her because I was her caretaker every day. Yeah. And my husband was able to set that aside. And when you ask if I was angry, there were times that I was angry at my husband for not mowing the lawn or something, like things
you
that
just pointed it at something silly.
Our child died 3 months ago, and I'm angry about whatever. It was rough and it was hard, but I will tell you that we grieved together, and the beauty of we loved this little girl, and it brought us closer. And it was hey, we gotta hold on to each other. And it actually, I think, made us stronger. And I know that it is there's a lot of couples who can't get through that and end up breaking up, even if it's later, many years later. But we were able to we just worked.
Was that
intentional?
Together. Did you intentionally do that, or did it just happen because of your relationship?
I think a little of both.
Was it?
I mean, we would kind of wake up in the morning and go, oh, did that really happen? Like, oh, here we go. Like, we got to sludge our way through. And now when you ask if I was angry, I don't know that I had my angry moment at God. Like, I can't believe you took my daughter. But then it was like, I was angry over something else.
Yeah.
It was, I was angry over, something that, something that happened where I was like, are you kidding me? I feel like I should get a pass on this because my child died, So I did really immediately feel a lot of peace, which I feel very blessed about. And and like I said, I was not angry at my in-laws. I was not angry at, my personality is a little more chill or calm. So, I think I just knew that immediately was blessed with the peace of knowing that this is this is how it needed to happen. It actually made, I think, my belief in God even stronger because I really felt, you talk about how there's times in your life when the Savior carries you. I literally felt the arms of the Savior around me all the time.
Wow.
All the time. And that period of time almost becomes like a sacred bubble. And several months. And then I didn't notice it at the time, but then later, several months later, I could feel when it was less. Like I kind of feel like, of course he doesn't really leave you, but I kind of felt the pep talk of like, okay, you're good. You're good. And so I felt when it left as much as I felt like being lifted.
Wow.
And I was very grateful for that love and support that I could feel.
Wow.
So as a mother of 5 at the time, had 4 children, you had to figure out how to grieve and how to help your 4 children grieve.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
That was definitely the hardest part. And, it's like one foot forward. We always said, like, let's talk about it. Let's, you're available, and all feelings are welcome kind of a thing. But, it was kind of interesting because the girls would say things like, well, if we had been in charge of her, she wouldn't have died.
Oh.
And I, part of it is like, do I defend my in-laws here? Do we, what kind of burden and responsibility did they feel? Because I wanted them never to feel like, it's our fault. But I remember, when I was talking to the therapist about it, like, how do I help my kids through this? And she would say, let them talk about things and all the things. But she did say that the girls would grieve when they had their own children. Like, this is a lifelong thing for them. And I do believe that it has happened and is happening where they've said, like, how did you survive that?
No.
It becomes a totally different understanding for your children, huh?
Yeah.
Once they have become mothers.
Yeah. And I think, we all just, it's like we are not in control of every piece of everything.
We are not.
It's actually made me a more patient and calm mother, knowing that there's not much I can do. I'm not in charge here. It's actually freed me a little bit. And like I kind of said in the beginning, like, it's so freeing to have like 4 adult children that are like, good members of society. It's like after Joy died, I was like, I'm not in charge of this. I didn't do something. You're in a conversation with people and they'll make a joke like, well, at least my kids are alive today. Like, the bar is like here. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I couldn't do that. I couldn't keep all my kids alive, but I wasn't in charge of that. I didn't get to, or people will say like, oh, do you have any parenting advice? And I'm like, yeah, but one of my kids died. So I didn't, I can't, you're not in charge of that. This is like the plan. This is how it was supposed to be 100%. I know that this is the way that it was. She fulfilled her mission on earth, and our children got to be with her and benefit from her awesome spirit. And now she's, where she's supposed to be. And I don't know, I look through some of that time, like, I don't know how we got through, but we moved forward.
Yeah. I know one of the biggest fears of people that lose someone they love is forgetting about them, forgetting their voice, forgetting their mannerisms, forgetting how they look. And it terrifies people because that's the last thing you want. You always want to remember.
Yeah.
What did you do and what do you continue to do so that you and your husband and your children don't experience that?
Well, it's kind of fun. We do talk about her stories and some of the memories that everyone has. And like I said, that story with the shoes at the beginning and many things. We do talk about her like she's a member of the family. We'll say things like, oh, if, like Joy would be on a mission or, there's times in my family's gathering where I just know she's there. And, there's specific incidents where, I felt her near. My girls, when they served their missions, they felt her near. And we just know she's still part of our family. And, one of my wise bishop at the time was like, you can pray for her like she's, she's still your child. So you still pray like you do for all of your children, like bless this child doing this, or please be with this child that's struggling. And it's like also, bless Joy. She's still a living, breathing spirit, doing the tasks that she's doing in this life, after life. And so we, I do that, and I still really feel like she's part of our family. I think, the girls, I don't know how much of they do remember certain things about her. I also, had a blog at the time, which was another little treasure because I was a horrible journal keeper and I didn't write down all the funny things that my kids said. But with her, it just happened to be this time in my life where I wrote down a ton of her funny stuff.
Interesting.
Wow.
And words that she said, and she was totally into Dora the Explorer and all the things. And so we do have some memories and some things of her, and that's been a great blessing. And I think just generally thinking of her as still part of our family has been really helpful.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to those that are going through the struggle who have just lost a child, whether it's for them or them helping other children or husband and wife? What would you say?
I think, advice, what do we all know? We're just trying to get through. But I think
it's true.
One of the most important things is that, today is not forever. So, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to stay in your bed for one day. It's okay to scream and be mad and feel all the feelings. But it's also important to put one foot in front of the other and move forward.
Yeah.
And, feel it. I think that was I remember part of my journey was I liked to just keep it all in and not focus on me, but kind of focus on everyone else. And it's like feeling is healing. And I had to remind myself that all the time. Like, you have to feel this. You have to feel how hard this is. And also you have to get up and drive this kid somewhere and make lunches and, you know, make dinner.
Life didn't stop.
But you have to feel. And so take a minute and feel. And, but don't be there forever. Today feels hard and tomorrow feels hard, but you know, you will breathe again.
Yeah.
You will breathe again. I remember feeling like I cannot breathe. And why am I, you know, you do kind of this why, but it's like, okay, I feel the peace, you know, some of the answers come, you know, kind of it settles, but there's still days that are hard, you know, even this many years later, I see the little Ivy with her pigtails, or I see my niece on the mission, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I missed Joy today, but that's okay, because we're going to move forward, and it's okay. And I'm going to take a minute to feel that and take a breath and then take a step forward.
I don't know if it's fair if I ask this question. If Joy was sitting here across the table and you had just 5 minutes, what would you tell her? What would you say to her? What would you ask her?
Well, I love my adult children with all my heart, and I feel like it would be very similar. What'd you do today? Who did you see? What have you been doing? I haven't seen you in so long. Tell me about it. I'm always like, love listening to my children, and I would first thing I would do actually is hold on. The hug would be long. Yeah. And I would be, it was funny because when the girls would come home from their missions, it's like, okay, you have to sit by me and I have to hold you. Like just right here, like hold tight, hold tight. So she would be sitting right here and I would be holding very tight. Like I said, I feel her more as an adult now, because as the time has passed, I feel of her as adults. I would want to be having a conversation and just say, what have you been up to? Tell us about your adventures. Did you get to watch? I felt you at Faith's wedding. Were you there? What did you think? Have you missed us, or have you been with us? And, isn't Cal and Ivy and Ben and Tate the cutest people ever, So I just think, my adult kids, all of our family gathers and shares and loves each other, loves to be together. And so she would be right in on that with playing the games and hanging out.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love that too.
Something came to mind. My aunt and uncle, several years ago, quite a while ago, they lost their son as an adult, and I remember her telling a story of she was driving in the car and her grandchildren were in the back seat, and they heard her talking to herself, if you will. And, Grandma, who are you talking to? Oh, I'm just talking to Michael. And that was her son who had passed. And I don't know, that has stuck with me for all these years since, because just because they are no longer on this earth, it doesn't mean the communication can't be open. And it's impacted me in communicating with, especially a grandmother who is no longer here. But I thought that was beautiful. It's not the same. Yeah. It's not a two-way conversation necessarily, but yeah.
I feel like there's times when I talk to her, it's mostly me bossing her. I like get my mom voice out and I'm like, hey, go be with this person, or hey, I can feel, sometimes I feel like I can call upon angels to help in time of need. And so I do that. I'm like, Joy, this person needs you. Like, I feel like that has been a big blessing as her like watching over our family.
Yeah.
I'm going to take advantage of that. And I really feel like she is just our angel.
Wow.
I love
For
that.
sure.
There's power there.
You have I'm not going to call it luxury, the benefit of having time, 18 years, almost 19 years to look back. And that time has given you great space to heal and to recreate yourself and all these things. For those that don't have that time and are closer to that feeling of loss, they may not think there's ever going to be hope again. But with your perspective, like the title of our podcast, Like a Diamond, it truly, no one wants to go through this pain and suffering. No one wants it. Some people run marathons. I think they're crazy. Some people do Ironmans and mud runs, and they inflict physical and mental pain on them willingly, right? I like to work out hard. I push my body so hard, but you didn't ask for this, right? You didn't ask for the extreme heat, pressure, and pain. But because you had it, and now that you can look back, can you see a diamond that was formed? Can you see the good, the positive, the strength that you gained from this experience?
Yes, of course. I feel like I know the ways that it's made me a better person. I'm more, sensitive and kind to others. I do feel like the strength, like you said, it's hard to think of myself as like, oh, now I'm this rock that never, hurts anymore. And so, yes, I see the beauty of going through something hard and how when it especially makes you more compassionate to others. And I think the love that I have for everyone is like, why do all these things matter? Nothing matters except for your relationships and your love. And I think anyone who can't feel the hope now, I think it's just remembering that it's not always going to feel this way. It's just, one more day, sludge your way through. And that being said, there's things in my life that have been different, hard. This happened 18 years ago, but there's 18 more years of other struggles and trials. And it's kind of funny because some of those things have been harder almost because there isn't an eternal beauty in it. Having my daughter peacefully die in her sleep where she didn't suffer is actually a beautiful blessing compared to some people who go through something hard that doesn't have, a happy ending, if you will.
Yeah.
Like this was a very, this was a very hard thing, but the beauty of it is that it all works out. Like I will get her back and there is an eternal promise that I will be with her again. And that is beautiful. And I think that's what gives me hope. And sometimes, things don't work out like that. And so I feel very blessed. The gratitude that I have that, the beauty that I can see in my life, the joy that I have in my life through my children and my grandchildren. And, some of those things are hard. One of my grandchildren is going to need heart surgery, right? And that is hard. That is hard. And I feel like I took the blows for the family. And so I'm kind of pleading with God, like, hey, we did this and we want healing and we want blessings and it doesn't mean that life is easy the rest of your life just because, but do I think of myself as a diamond that came through the fire? No, but also yes. Like we are strong and we know that it's going to work out. That everything is going to be okay, even though it's hard. Even though not everything is, flowers and sunshine, but everything can be joyful.
I love that.
Well said.
Thank you for being vulnerable. I know, again, you've shared this story so many times in 18 years. For some reason, there's someone now that needs to hear it. And also, what a blessing that this recording will be available for your grandchildren, that they can see grandma and they can see how awesome you are. And the strength that... I'm sorry, just because they're my nieces and nephews too. Someday they're going to go through something hard and they'll be able to look at this video and be like, well, grandma did it. So can I, right? And thank you for sharing. It's been hard. And, of course, can't help but think about our own children as we talk. And you're right. All those little things don't matter, they missed curfew, or they made a huge mess again in the craft room, or they don't listen, or they're not going to bed when we tell them. None of that matters, right? None of it does. So thank you for sharing.
I know. I feel so privileged to sit here and hear your story. Cal and Ivy, gosh, they're so lucky.
They're pretty much the cutest.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.